Welcome back. This is your show, Talents Bell, Suicide Ideation. During the break, I was asking Kemboi, Karaoke, and I think Derek. Now, Lisa, have you ever guys thought of killing yourself? Have you ever had suicidal thoughts? And these guys are telling me no. Lakini smile walikuwa wananipea. I thought like only one guy out of those guys who have never thought of killing themselves. Mwingine anataka ati kujiua kwa sababu alishindwa mbio. Kama hukuzaliwa ukimbie, huwezi kimbia. Wewe pambana na kamera. Tosheka mahali penye huko. Wachana na mbio. Kwanza mwili yake hata hawezi kimbia, labda aende 100 meters. Na vile naona si kama nani? Si kama our own guy 100 meters champion. So let's relook and think about suicide ideation. I really mixed the science and the causes. And I was doing this so that you may understand and do an inventory of yourself to understand whether you have these suicidal thoughts or you have an environment that gives you thoughts of killing yourself. How can a family help a person with suicidal ideation? I'll say this, that most of the people with suicidal ideation, they are looking for a connection. They are disconnected from within, and they are also disconnected from without. So they are looking for a person who can bring their ears, their sense of hearing to them, who can speak words of hope to them, who can give them an opportunity, just an opportunity, being there. An opportunity we call T-I-M-E, time. They're looking for such. And so, can a family be a heaven, also a hell? Families have been some of the places which facilitate suicidal ideation. Most of the people who die, a good number of them, it is because of family problems. And if people die because of family problems, maybe they're heartbroken by their families don't meet their expectations, we have very harsh conditions at the family level, then we must understand that the starting point of socializing a generation to reduce suicidal cases is a family. We must make the family the place where words of hope are spoken, words of reality are spoken, where guys go to recharge their emotions. Like I go back home as a husband and feel encouraged, feel celebrated. I go back as a son or a daughter and I feel appreciated, feel accepted. So even though the environment outside there is so harsh, when I go home, I get a haven of healing. I get a touch that will help me to understand myself and to know whom I am. At home, is it possible to see myself as a person with an image that is fearfully and wonderfully made? Do I have an aspect whereby I can look within myself and look without and see, even if all the other guys crushed me outside there, when I go back home, I can rise up because the environment is pushing me up. I always pick this scripture, a verse in the Bible that says, "Come, let us reason together." The call to come back has been a call since Bible times. It is also the call that helped the prodigal son. What am I saying? We can make the home a place that can rebuild broken people, a place that can rebuild hopeless people, a place that can rebuild emotionally disturbed people, a place that can rebuild people who feel like I'm worthless. And so if we set an environment at home that can bring back the husbands, bring back the mothers, bring back the sons and daughters, bring back everybody connected to that family, then we can reduce suicidal cases. What about listening, going out to help? In the coming days, I'm starting a program known as First Aiders for emotional disturbed people, for mental health workers, and for people who are dealing with suicidal victims. Why am I doing the first aid course? I'm training the first aid course because anybody who speaks about suicide, they are looking for help. Are we able to instantly come out and help these people? Are we able to instantly come out and listen to these guys? What will be the words that we are going to give them? Are we going to give them a smile, or are we going to facilitate their death? I always see this, especially on WhatsApp status, Facebook status. When somebody says, oh, I feel like dying, majority of people who are going to comment there, they are not there to help them. They are there to facilitate and push these people to death. And they'll tell them, you're not the first guy to die. And ukufe. Does it really help this person? It doesn't. And so we must be a people who are willing to come out and listen, because as they call for help, as they call for attention, they are asking us, hi, guys, don't you guys see that I'm down? Don't you guys see that I'm crushed? Don't you guys see that I'm in chains? Can you come and rescue me? What if a guy came in chains and the only thing that can save their life is being lifted from the chains? And you're there laughing, you're there telling them you're not the first guy to be in chains. Then we're going to kill so many people. So coming out to help is another way of helping these people. We also need to understand that suicidal people, they always have an aspect of looking back at their lives and filling a gap. And we can be used to fill in this gap. Because if I wanted to become a pilot and nothing is working, I can as well go to college and train, become a lecturer, train other pilots. I can as well do something else. And that is why every course that is done in college, every degree, every master's program, every PhD has so many other units. All these units are units to facilitate you, to give a multi-dimensional to your mind, and to give you a mindset that is open to maybe lack and ask yourself, yes, this is not working. What else can I do? What else can I do? So suicidal thoughts is something that we can reduce in our generation. Suicide cases is a thing that we can reduce in our generation. Mental health issues. How do we deal with mental health issues? At times, the way we deal with mental health issues, it is something that gives us an opportunity to ask ourselves, are we doing enough? At times we casually handle mental illness. We look at it as if it's kawaida kutupa mbao, kawaida kuruka kichwa. And I always pick this example while I'm training people. The example of Central Kenya, whereby guys will grow up, especially in July when it is so cold. And what is it? It is because during that time, there is lack. Food is not there. Tea that is supposed to give them a livelihood is not there. Nothing is really doing so much. So what happens? These guys are left doing very minimal activities. These guys are left having very minimal interactions. And if you have ever had an interaction with mental illness, then the probability for you to sink into depression, the probability for you to sink and think like killing yourself is a reality. What about chronic issues, whereby people will feel like, I want to kill myself because I have a chronic disease? We must stop mainstreaming and creating stigma to chronic diseases. We must pick them to build their capacity to accept reality. This is what I have. This is what I'm ailing in. And if this is what is ailing me, It is a reality I can only be able to manage. And that takes me to another thing that I'm really working from the front to help a generation. When we talk about suicide, it is divided into three. There are masses that do not have suicidal thoughts. Very many billions in the world. There are others who started having suicidal thoughts just the other day. Like you have started cutting yourself with a razor blade. You have started destroying your body. You have started drinking. You have started sleeping away from home. You have started being withdrawn. It has just started. And we have the third people who are always driven by suicidal thoughts. Now, when we are dealing with all these people, one of the models I'm feeling that is capturing ground and taking ground and helping us so much is mental wellness. What is the difference between treating a mental illness and having mental wellness as a continuous program? The difference is very simple. The difference is in mental wellness, you help people to have a personal management. Somebody sits down and they come up with ways of coping up with the stress, coping up with depression, coping up with what is ailing them. And that is management. It is a mental wellness. So if the masses that do not have suicidal thoughts, if they are trained and helped to understand ways to cope up with stress, like nature walks, having real time for yourself, having inventory times for yourself, having a time by yourself to be happy, having a time with your family, and also they make families to be so good, a good environment, then we are able to manage everything that comes our way. And that will give us the capacity and the ability to overcome the storms of life. And so wellness is an aspect that will help us to reduce suicidal thoughts. To the parents, I will tell you, don't push your children so much. Don't stretch them out. And if you are to stretch, let it be a stretch that creates resilience. And that one reminds me of the current generation. We are calling it Generation Z. A generation that doesn't have a lot of energy to push themselves, a lot of energy to be resilient, a lot of energy to keep on fighting. And so from a very early age, we must be parents who are building the capacity to stand on, the capacity to keep on, the capacity to sustain our energy during a stretch. And we must not be a generation that is raising our people who are so soft. I see a lazy generation coming up, a generation that cannot stretch, a generation that cannot overcome the pressures of life, and a generation that only works by faith and not also adding action. Because even on top of faith for Christians, you must add actions. The difference between people with suicidal thoughts and people who don't have suicidal thoughts is the power to put faith into action. The power to say, I must activate what I believe in. I must take a step to rise up. I must develop my inner being. Because once you develop your inner being, you are able to understand that a human being has got talents, has got gifts, has got possibilities. And if one possibility fails, there are other possibilities. And you need not to compare yourself with others. Why? You're born unique. You're the number one version of yourself. You're second to none. You are born to stand out. I'm so happy to have spoken to us. I know due to public demand, we're going to come back and do more on suicide. But may God bless you. May God bless Kenya. May God bless your dream. Don't kill yourself. Make an aspect and a step of drying out those suicidal thoughts. Follow up, listen to us, subscribe, and always tune to Mamraka TV, Talents Bell, every Saturday from 8:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Remember, it is real, it is relevant, it is relational. Until we meet next time, bye-bye.